always, my air light shine like right. We're golden, we're golden, we're diamonds, defining the best ones of the lessons, horizons, and horizons. Come on, see the chair. Reformation. Time has come for us to reshape ourselves in the image of the Almighty Elohim. We are the vital movement, the greatest force ever. Take your place among the colossus, known as the American. We have all that we need. Greetings and salutations. Every time I hear that song, I almost feel like I could have been on that track. Yeah, all right. Let's get it on today. So let's go to the Chizat. Peace to the Chief. Let's get it on today, huh? Peace Emanaya. Peace Akoti Yafe. Peace El Karar. What it do, brother? Peace Anu Radio. All right, so we're just gonna vibe from the build that happened on Friday, kind of flowing from the salvation model. So you're gonna see me pull from the salvation model, and I also have a couple scriptures in here, and then we're just gonna flow like that. But even when they were building on the salvation model, one of the things that they started talking about was just not letting the deluge of the cultural insanity in. And how does one start to not let that cultural insanity in? Peace, Master Medelec. Peace, Abba Harut. Peace, Emma Sequoia. Peace to you. Peace, Abba MGC. It's your screen name is kind of throwing me off. Ross Cush. Peace. So how do you not let the deluge or the torrent in of the cultural insanity that one is surrounded by? And I started thinking about just the word integrity. One having integrity when you go into this vast world. There's going to be so many people that will start telling you that this is what it should be, or this is what it should be like, so on and so forth. And if there's no integral structure, if there's no integral framework, then what happens is that one starts to let some of that cultural insanity in. One starts to now go along with whatever everybody else is doing. Case in point, one of my favorite movies of all time. If I had a top three, it would be top five, right? In top five. But it would be along with The Lion King. And in The Lion King, there was a bunch of spots in there where it just kept saying, even at the end, it was saying, remember who you are, right? You come from a line and a lineage of this is what we do, this is what we don't do, right? Even at the beginning of the movie, when you see the teachings and his father telling him, look, man, this is Pride Rock, but don't go over there to the dark side. This is not what we do. But when he meets somebody else and he starts to let that torrent in, or that deluge or that water, that cultural insanity begins to let it in, then you see when Naya came back to him, Naya, seeing this name. Nala came back to him and he's like, I'm just living my life now, just off of pure emotions, right? I'm off of pure feeling. This is what I want to do. This is what feels right. This is what feels natural. And it's like, that's not who you are. He's like, and he came to the realization at some point saying that, you know what, I don't really know who I am. And it's just somebody coming back to him and reminding him, like, look in the water, man. Look again. This is not, he's like, oh, that's just a reflection of me. Nah, look harder. And when he started to look harder, he started to see his father in him. He started to see his lineage. He started to see his line. He started to see where he came from. And even one of the things that they started speaking about, even on the Friday bill, was just being able to sit around a campfire and having a conversation with elders who's telling you what they did and what they didn't, so that therefore you start to see that reflection. And you start to now, when in doubt, copy your teacher. And then when somebody starts to copy their teacher, you start to now live out some of their experiences, and then you start to build your own story and your own of this is how you overcame, or this is how you started to come through and pull through certain things. But if one starts to move out without that integral structure, or without knowing who and what you are first, then it start to let that deluge in. You start to, now it's like, oh, I don't know who I am. This is when people start to become heavy. They start to say that, you know, I have a lot of anxiety, or one might become depressed, or you know, all these other things that one might start to say. So we're going to start here. I'm going back to the I New Way. We're going to start from the salvation model, where it says in there says, we are Safo of the Most High Yah, though you may see references to Anu held in diverse cultures and religious systems. Make no mistake, we Anu emerged to exemplify and build the kingdom of Yah. Now, I think the thing that jumps out at me is a couple of them, but the first thing that jumps out at me is we are a Safo. A Safo is a warrior scholar. Like you're gonna have to dig. It's not everything is gonna be handed to you. And I think sometimes just like if you're looking at a building and the integrity of the building, or the framework of the building that's holding that building up, there was work that had to be put into that framework to hold. If now there might be an earthquake, or if there might be some type of thing that challenges it, to see how well it can hold itself up. Well, how well will you be able to hold yourself up? If somebody now challenges, or somebody now says, oh yeah, that's not correct. Was there some scholarship that went into whatever it is that you say you are? I.e., I knew. If you say you're I knew, is there some scholarship? Is there a foundation? Is there a framework? Are you bringing your whole self to the experience in order to get what one can actually get from that experience? Or one might just come not bringing their whole self, not really having integrity in the experience, but more so bringing half of themselves, and then bringing 50%, but expecting 100% return. What are you putting in? You cannot make a deposit. You're not making withdrawals if you don't make deposits. You're gonna have to put something in it. But again, what is that integral framework and structure like? And are you now actually taking on in a Safo, and whatever it is that you do in life, whatever it is that you do in life, that you protect. So it also goes on to say, we are betrothed to the Crown Initiative and keep our hearts soft in order to cultivate our love for this great responsibility and endowment. Keep our hearts soft. When one starts to now break down and and you start to see, when you let that outside influence, that cultural insanity, when one starts to let it in, then you start to compromise. Then you start to like, oh yeah, it ain't that bad. One of the things, it was an example that was even in it was in Integrity. It was done. It was it was the Warrior Code. Pretty sure it's the Warrior Code. And the example that Chief gave in that was just saying how one of your children, you just don't let around anybody, because anybody might start to influence your child, and they don't even have the reasoning faculties that one adult may have, or the ability to start to question certain things and say, hold on, what is going on here? Because now if I start to allow this in and I start to think that this is normal, then I start to take on these characteristics. Now, again, going back to the Lion King, you start to even see when Simba was around and he was a child and really didn't know. And then he started saying, well, they was like Hakuna Matata. Well, Hakuna Matata, but that's not what he was taught. And he said, that's not what I was taught. But again, the reasoning faculties and the questioning wasn't there. Ultimately, though, it was the survival piece, that I need to survive. I need to make it. And feeling that you don't have all that you need. In the song, Be I Knew, we have all that we need. Yeah. Yeah. So it's a matter, though, of who are you allowing yourself to be around, but are you ultimately building that internal framework and that internal structure and bringing your whole self to an experience where therefore you can get everything that you need in order to walk around and traverse the world as you're supposed to be? Or are you only bringing your half self? Now, that keeping your heart soft, that makes me even think of, which I put in here. Here we go. Where you start to see David. And David says, search me, oh God, and know my heart. Try me and know my thoughts, and see if there be any wicked way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting. If you come into an experience, or if you come into any house where you're going to be a student and a sophomore and a warrior scholar, are you really searching your heart to see the ways that where if one is actually reaching and striving to be what they want to be and to become anew? Or is one still holding on to some old coping mechanisms and coping strategies to get one through and saying, well, you know what? I'm the type of person. That's where you start to hear, well, oh, I learned better this way. Are you still holding on to that? And if we even go back to that, or is just like, you know what, search me and flush it out. Flush it out, because that's not part of my integrity, and that's an integral structure. And that's not how I'm going to keep myself upright and keep myself right and exact. Flush it out. And that's when some people look for something supernatural or something that's, some sort of sign. But then when somebody has a teacher who's starting to say, you know what, these are some of your issues and these are certain things that you need to work on. Do you work on those things? Are you actively working on those things? So that therefore now it's like a repent. Do I start to go back and say, hold on, man, these are things that I have had issues with. These are things that ultimately have gotten me to this place that I am in today. Now, and I understand that certain people have certain coping strategies because they needed to survive in certain. You start to see with Simba. Okay, I'm gonna eat slugs. I'm gonna do whatever. I'm gonna do what I need to do in order to survive. But even then, like that, in that integrity piece, you start to see even in the food, which Chief starts to break down, is just because you consume something doesn't mean that it has its whole integral structure, even in your food. So when we look at a Snickers bar compared to a mango, even though you might feel full, one doesn't have the same structure as the other. One doesn't have a calorie is not the same in a Snickers bar as it would be in a mango, or as it would be in an avocado, or as it would be in something of naturals, because now one has just grabbed and reached for something that doesn't really have no integral structure. So one can now say, let me reach for something else. Let me make a better decision. Let me start to go in a different direction. Let me start to take on some better habits that start to now say, you know what, these are certain things that I shouldn't touch, and I should guard it with everything that I have. And if one is not willing to do that, then you have to start like, well, what are you, then you have to ask yourself, are you bringing your entire self to an experience? Are you submitting yourself to this experience? Or are you just wasting your time in that experience because ultimately you feel like you can grab what you want and leave? I chew the meat and spit out the bones. I think that's what some people like to say. Search me though. And it's not one that just stands here and professes it, because now you're going to get tested. There's going to be some trials and there's going to be some tribulations, because I need to see if you understood the assignment. That's what they say. If you understood the assignment, and if you understand the assignment, then when you get a test that's coming, it's like, okay, I'm going to search you then. And I'm going to put something in front of you to see if you are what you say you are about. Some people fail that test and the test keeps coming, or some people will rise and say, you know what, that's not what's in I can't let this, I can observe this cultural insanity. I can be surrounded by this cultural insanity, but I'm not going to let this cultural insanity in, because if I let it in, then now it's like, what am I exhibiting, and what am I really working on in this experience? And can I remember what my crown initiative was? Is this part of my initiative, or is this something that I'm taking on myself? If we got in here, so that will keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee, because he trusts in thee. And this is Isaiah 26:3. And it's just a matter now of, sometimes it's like, what are we focusing on, and what are we keeping our attention on? Where your attention goes, energy flows. So if we start to put our attention on earthly things and earthly matters and feeling like this is what I need to survive, then we start to lower ourselves into that aspect of, I'm a part of this and this is what I need. But if you just look up. Sometimes we look down and what's the saying is, we bump our head. If we keep looking up, or what some people would say is, don't be so heavenly minded that you're no earthly good, then you could lose your footing. But the righteous look straight ahead and adjust the path as they see fit. You got it. When you keep your eyes on the prize, rhyming so separately, but when you keep your eyes on where one's supposed to be, or that's something else what we talked about where you're supposed to be. Yeah, y'all would have just had to be in a study group, because there's not enough time to go over it. But so yeah, if you just keep your eyes though focused on the light, let me say that, then one will, or like when Shrek and Donkey were walking across the bridge, and he's like, "Don't look down," and you start looking down, and that's when you start to feel the weight of everything. It's like, oh, whoa, I'm out here, I'm too far, I'm alone, I'm by myself, all of these things going on. That will keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee. This is why even when you see in the New Way, it says, this text should not be read just once. It can be taken out of context. It can be going in any direction, but you have to stay in it daily. Because if you're not stayed in it daily, then ultimately this goes back to what we even read again, which I brought this up the last time, but I'm going to bring it up again, is that stolen focus. There's so many people, psychologists, and when you walk into a grocery store, all of the colors, the product placement, all of that is done for a reason. And the reason being is, I want your attention. Because if I have your attention, if I can hold it long enough, I can start to absorb some of the energy, or some of your wealth, or some of your money, or whatever the case may be. Wherever I want it, though, as long as I have it, then now I can get you to focus on what I want you to focus on. And then it's like a magician, certain things that you think you see, you didn't see. Again, it's all about a deflection or diversion. So if you stay, well, it was even in the stolen focus, we're saying that if you even go to the grocery store, it's probably best to stay on the outside. Because when you start to walk in the inner aisles, that's when stuff is like, what is this? But it has nice colors. It tastes good. But what kind of calorie deficiency are you really having when you start to consume these certain things? So, but it's a matter though of keeping your mind, keeping your attention, keeping your focus on the light. And when one keeps their focus and attention on the light, they start to move. One can start to move beyond some of the trappings that start to hold people down of saying, this is the way that I am. I'm the type of person. Hey, I always just been like this. And these are things that, yeah, but are you working on it? Are you actively working on it and saying, no, you know what? I'm pushing forward the Crown Initiative to say, this is who and what I am. Right. And this goes back to going back to the salvation model, where it says even some are stuck in their history and the credit that they consider to be their personalities. This is me, right? Some are stuck in their history and the credit that they consider to be their personalities. And that can go one of two ways too, because if we look at the movie, gosh, I forgot the name of it, but the lady comes, Orin, I think that was her name, and she was coming to study under Dojan, and she wasn't bringing her whole self, but ultimately bringing her history. And her history was that she was a prostitute. Her history was that she was selling herself. But her mind was stuck in the past of saying, this is the type of person I am. And he's like, no, you release that. And if one can release that, one can start to now bring their full entire selves in here. But this is now sometimes when you're having conversations with people, and I saw Master Menelek post this one time. It was like when you hear people and they say their name, but then it's like the ADHD or whatever kicks in, and you start hearing all of these different things, because now you can't focus on what is going on in front of you. You're only focused on whatever is going on in your head. And when one is stuck on their history or one is stuck on their personality, then one is stuck on how they should be viewed or how they feel they should be viewed, as opposed to bringing their full selves to that experience. So now it's this person is looking at this, or this person is that, oh, maybe they're going to figure me out. You know what? I'm bringing my whole selves, and this is what I want to work on. This is what I'm going to start to. That integral structure is so serious that that if it's not right, then I need to start to tell the truth, and not my truth. So many love to do that. Or let me tell my truth. Nobody cares about your truth. Tell the truth. And because a lot of times when people run certain stories down, what they'll end up doing is they'll say, well, by the time I end up telling this story, I'm going to look like a saint. I'm going to look like this because I'm just going to give one half. But as we have been taught, there's three sides to every story. Their side, the other person's side, and then somewhere in the middle is going to lie the truth. But it's just a matter of, are you going to tell the truth and say, this is what I have done? My integrity has been compromised. And it's because I have done X, Y, Z. Not being a victim, not blaming somebody else, and this is what they did, and this is why they did it, and put me in this situation. So this situation is what I am going through. So you should all feel bad for me. No, you know what? I'm going to focus on my part and what I did. And I'm going to tell the truth. Yeah, there were some things that happened, but there was also some things I did. Let me focus on the things that I did. Because as much as we want to focus on the other person, how do you start to heal from that if you start to only try to control what the external influences? That's when one starts to let the torrent, or you start to be stuck in their history and credit and consider their personalities. Either way, as a new, we grasp at the notion of striving beyond the glory that can only be held in the earth. Don't let your eyes get you beat and get you stuck down here where this is all I have. Because when you start to hold on to it, that's when we start to cling to life and start to mess the integral structure up. What is the integral structure? That make no mistakes, we are new merger exemplify the kingdom of Yah. Exemplify the kingdom of Yah means that integral structure is from the kingdom of Yah. But when one lets the torrent or the deluge in from what is going around in the cultural insanity, well, then that's when one starts to take on other attributes that ultimately are not becoming of one to get to where they need to be, or is not becoming of one of getting the fullness of what they came down here to get, or bringing their whole entire selves to an experience and getting the whole experience of the fullness from that experience. And I think I didn't put this up here because it was too long, so I'm going to pull it up. But it's Luke 16, verse 10 and 12. So I'm going to pull it up on my phone. So give me a hot second, and we'll read it. And it was talking about, just for some context here, it was talking about money, in a sense, but I think it could be used to go along the lines with some are stuck in their earthly personality. So it says, and I'm going from the King James Version. Let me put this up here. Boom. There you go. And then let me just say this. If anybody wants to jump on, feel free to come on here and build. Let me try and check the chat a little bit. All right, cool. Mimicking the color of fruits. Right. In the grocery store, Master Minilet. Don't concentrate on the finger or you'll miss all that heavenly glory. Right, Aki El Karar. Yeah, even if you don't know who you are, advertisers do, and they strategize around your human. Come on, speak on it, Master Minilet. Even if you don't, somebody else is figuring you out. And that goes back to even in the Lion King, when it was like, well, hold on, we can use this. Like, oh no, lions grow up to eat people. Well, hold on, if we get them young enough, then we can use this to our benefit. Somebody's strategizing around you. Yeah, they working on you. Day in, I slide in and slide out like At any rate, all right. So let's go back. Luke 16, 10 and 12 says, if therefore ye have not been faithful in the unrighteous mammon, who will commit to your trust the true riches? Now, I want to make sure, because I went and looked it up too. Well, even if you didn't. So mammon is wealth regarded as an evil influence or false object of worship and devotion. So wealth regarded as an evil influence or false object of worship and devotion. One starts to now compromise who and what they are, going after certain things that one would say mammon. So even if we look at this passage of scripture, and it says, if therefore ye have not been faithful in the righteous mammon, who will commit to your trust the true riches? So if you have, what are you doing with what you have currently? We'll start to say, what, I can't trust you with little, with whatever you have, because I can't trust you in the bigger. I play sports. This is how I can explain. Oh my, I'm trying to find something to explain it. All right, so when one plays sports, you have a assignment. So let's say in football, you got 11 people on the field. When 11 people are on the field, then one will say, okay, this is your assignment. Now, if I can trust you to do it in practice, and you show me that you can do it in practice, then I can put you on a bigger stage. But if you're not willing to do it in practice, then I can't trust you on a bigger stage. So some people will come into an experience and say, well, no, I'm ready for this. Or what are we doing? I need to move and well, did you bring yourself to this experience to commit yourself to whatever is going on that's right in front of you? Did you read the book? Did you watch the movie? Did you commit to yourself to the experience? No, I ain't do any of that. But let's go out here and go play the game. Well, how can I trust you out there on the field when I can't trust you right here in practice? Are we on the same team? What type of structure? What type of, are you so, again, going back to one staying in there, committed only to be held on earth? What is it that you're doing? What is it that you're bringing? And what is it that you're representing out there that ultimately you are going to represent the team? what type of structure now are you bringing to this experience, and what type of structure would you be bringing externally to something else? So let's go back in, and it says, and if ye not been faithful in what which is another man's, who shall give you that which is your own? Right. So no servant can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will do hold on to one and despise the other. Ye cannot serve God and mammon. And it's just a matter. A lot of times, people do a lot of things to either gain riches, to gain glory, to gain fame, to gain whatever it is that they want to gain, but ultimately start to compromise who and what they are and compromise their integrity to get to where they feel like they should be or to get what they want. So now, and what is the point of gaining all of these things, but losing yourself in the process? And when I'm saying losing yourself is losing that integral structure that one is betrothed to the Crown Initiative. All right. So I'm gonna go down here, and it says, going back to the salvation model, our deliverance is not just entwined in our aptitude for cyclical information intake and regurgitation, which some people can get caught up in just saying that because I know it and I can spit it off the top of my head, that therefore now I must be moved in, or if you give me a title and somebody says you're now, a Jegna, or you're now this, or you're now that, and one starts because they can regurgitate certain information, but really it's not in their heart. Really, it's not in their integral structure. So when somebody challenges them, now all of a sudden they get angry and they start to flip and all of this. Well, you're not what you say you are. That's a costume that you're wearing. What is the actual integral structure that is holding this house up, which ultimately is not built on knowledge, on the one? So, but in alteration down to the, so our deliverance is not just entwined in our aptitude for cyclical information intake and regurgitation, but in alteration down to the genetic level. Are you going to be changed? And changes, and when one, I think, looks at integrity, they look at, oh, one doesn't change. That's not necessary. This goes back to even the warrior code, where it was saying that the flip-flopping is the problem, but change is not necessarily it's one which starts to flip-flop into, oh, I'm gonna do this today, and then I'm gonna do this tomorrow. I'm gonna go over here, and then I'm gonna go back over here. Who are you? Who are you? Whoever you put me in front of, that's what I'm gonna adjust and adapt to. The new pulsation commands renovation within. All right. So some may be open and sympathetic to the information, meaning they see the chain, but they are unwilling to grab onto and climb it. There is a great effort required in leaving worldly attachments. Again, that goes back to the asafo. One has to work. One has to. You got to fight from your old self and your old habits and your old patterns in order to now rebuild that framework and that structure of saying that, no, this is not who I want to be. This is not what I'm going to be. And understand that when these tests come along, you get an opportunity to show what you have learned. You have an opportunity to fall back into some of the old habits, or you can remember who and what you are and say, you know what? Nah, this is not me, and I'm going to make a different decision. But again, one has to climb. There's an effort required. That takes effort in leaving worldly attachments, of leaving your own identity of who and what you felt like you were, and I'm the type of person, and let me understand this, or that Jezebel spirit. That's work. Of, oh, well, then now people might view me in a different way, or they might see me in a different light. Okay. But can you remember, though, this is the lineage and the line that I come from, and this is what I came down here to exemplify, and this is the light that I'm going to stay focused on. And as long as I can stay focused on the light and not be so attached to these worldly attachments, then I can start to work my way up and start to climb out of this cultural, or I can be even surrounded in the cultural insanity. But as long as I don't let it in and understand what I am in that integral structure. All right. So in leaving worldly attachments beneath you, if you were to grab the strand of redemption and be hoisted up, you would not be doing your own work of ascension. A heavy heart will assail you down from the rapturous tour of evolution. So nobody can do the work for you. And I think that's important when it's so easy to get caught up in, trying to rely on somebody who's may not always be around. Right. Oh, and I said this before, and I'm gonna say it again. Oh no, Chief will do it. Chief will fix it. Chief ain't always gonna be there. Are you now building your integral structure up, and are you doing it to say, you know what? Nah, I can stand on my own 2 feet. I'm not just gonna go out here and do any old thing and start to be all willy nilly and say, or just regurgitate information. And somebody asks me something about it, then all of a sudden I just get angry, and I get, oh man, I feel myself about to blow up. Well, that's because you didn't study enough when you feel yourself about to blow up. Or that's because now you don't understand who and what is in front of you, that therefore, you know what? Thank you for letting me say my piece. Let me go ahead and exit stage left from here. Or now I see where you're falling with that. Let me go ahead and rearrange that so we can now start to have a better conversation. Or even understanding when somebody starts to come in and they start to make a statement, and trying to pose it as a question and come with some lower level condescending nature. When you start to see this, you start to see who's in front of you, and you know that this is not about me losing my cool or losing my integral structure, but understanding who and what is in front of me, because I understand who and what I am. So now you start to see, that's like the bullet, that's the movie, The Matrix. You start to see the bullets that my man said, I ain't running anymore because I know who and what I am. I have that integral structure. There's a lot of learning that went on. There was a lot of stuff that he had to pull himself out of, so that therefore now I'm not running. He put the hand up. Nah, these are all dropping. So you start to see now how people start to try to attack and how they start to try to come at you. And therefore now you don't lose and go off an emotional rant or diatribe of this is what's going on. Why? And then you have to ask yourself, did I actually grab the strand and start to really pull myself up? Or I let that cultural insanity in and I fell right back down into the middle of the garbage. Here I am again. That doesn't mean that you don't work. It's work to get out of it. A burdened heart indicates that your humanity has filled the spaces of your spirit and has thrust you out of the capacity reserved for the weightlessness of your spiritual transcendence. That goes back to search my heart. Search my heart, man. And let me understand and search my ways and lead me in the way of everlasting. Again, going back to that pastor or your imam or somebody who's going to help to lead and say, nah, let me give you pieces to help now build yourself up. But you got to put the work in. And that work is not, I can show up and try to be one way in service on the new channel, or when we all meet on Sabbath, but then when I go back into the world and then bring up, say, hey, these are all the things that I'm dealing with. Well, did you follow what was laid out in front of you? Well, no, I ain't do all of that, but y'all understand, no, this is just how I am. Well, come on, what are we talking about here? What are we doing here? Search me. So you're gonna get searched, you're gonna get tested, and then we're gonna see, is your heart lighter than the feather? So, again, when we look at it, and why I keep saying integrity, because I think it's just vital and important to one, because if we look at Proverbs 11:3, Proverbs 11:3 says, the integrity of the upright shall guide them, but the perversiveness of transgressors shall destroy them. When one has integrity, that integral structure, you start to sidestep certain things that start coming at you. You start seeing certain things that like, nah, man, this is not what I do. It's not just a Hakuna Matata. It means no worries, and we just go ahead and do anything that I feel like doing. But ultimately, I'm betrothed to the Crown Initiative. All right. If I'm locked in and I keep my eyes and I stay focused, then that's where I'm not going to I can step outside of that. And it keeps one from, I keep talking about sleep because I think that's a big thing for me. And when I start to now challenge that integral structure and saying, oh, nah, yeah, I say that I'm doing one thing, but then I go and do something totally different. And all of a sudden you live in a double life. I can't sleep that well. I just cannot. And it's not until I rectify that situation or whatever the case may be, is when then I can start to say, all right, I'm good. But almost finished here. It says the Anu are the people from heaven. We are striving to return to our celestial source. That return begins with a reawakening. When individuals truly evolve and awaken into their path, they never know it. All right, they never know it. How many times have you seen somebody who says that ain't nobody did this more than I have, or this is what I can do, and this is why, like it even says in the salvation model, it says they start to announce their ultimate downfall or their ultimate setback of what some of the issues that they may be experiencing or whatever the case may be. But again, you just keep working and striving to be the best that you can be, to say, I don't want to be the same person yesterday, or the Ori that leaves at the top of the AM shouldn't be the same Ori that comes back, because ultimately one is growing. And if something's not growing, then you know the rest. It is along the course of the natural life happenings that they evolve into their greatest being. Again, going back from what they spoke about Friday, and what I mentioned again, is sitting around that campfire and understanding that these experiences, that once that you start hearing from somebody who else is further along the path, and I say, you know what, I'm going to have these experiences. I'm still going to put in that work. I'm still going to do what I need to do in order to now make sure that it's built on the knowledge. It's built on the one, so that when I step out, I don't just start questioning who and what I am. Because now when I start questioning all of that and not really knowing, I mean, you start to let some of it in. The knowledge comes first, right? Instead of, which this a little bit, and I could be wrong, Master-elect. So but the sink or swim mentality of, I'm gonna just throw you out there. Yeah, but was the knowledge done? And if the knowledge and the being go hand in hand. And if there was no knowledge done, then really, what were you doing? The new experience is for those who are aligning with the mission of bona fide awakening. So, what did you align yourself with? What is your integrity, your integral structure? And can you remember who and what you are? And then, like it says, Anu is not for everybody. So everybody's not going to understand. Everybody is not, and that's fine. And it's not for us to go out and try to awake the masses and go get everybody up. That, like it says, that eventually will happen. But do you remember who and what you are? Do you have your integral structure? Are you putting the work in that you should be putting in order to now raise yourself and grab a hold of that chain? Or do you have one foot in and one slide in and slide out? Do you have one foot in and one foot out? Where you saying, I tried? Well, I'm trying. Trying is not going to get it done. Can you remember who you are and return to your excellence and your greatness and be who and what you were called to be? All right, so that is it. I'm gonna look at some of the comments. If there is nothing else, or if nobody has any other thing they want to add, then we'll go ahead and get up out of here. All right, so Sovereign Eat says, yes, this is so true. Someone else is figuring us out straight up at Mastermind, only focused on using people. Aki El Karar says, the chaos machine will come for you like the Matrix. I need to read that one. Yeah. All right. And Master Menelet, even if you don't know who you are. Okay, cool. Being. And then our new radio says being versus doing. All right, cool. So I think I put that up here. We got the dates for the Kingdom Culture for our new retreat is August 24th to the 28th. If you have not, make sure you sign up. Make sure you come out. Make sure, we just vibe with one another of being right there so you can see and get from behind these screens all the time. So you can start to see people, and if they actually are aligning, and you can feel the vibration from if they are what they say they're about. Don't blindly just follow anybody, but ultimately really get to know the person. and getting to know somebody is sharing a meal, sitting around them, and actually building with them and moving and grooving in that light. So, yeah. So I will, y'all got something out of this. I will let you have a wonderful day and see you on the flip.